guys, welcome back to Callie and Beans Books. I'm Brittany and today I'm going to be doing my April book corner for you guys. So in the beginning of the month I was listening to Wandering Star by Ramina Russell. That's the sequel to Zodiac, and I was about halfway through when I realized that I actually wanted to do the Owls readathon this year. So you can actually check out my TBR and announcement video linked below, as well as Callie and Beans TBR and announcement videos. So jumping into the month, I picked up 2 books to complete my TBR for my owls, one being Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander, and the second being Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. And this was the Serpent and Badger book club book for April. This was Sarah's pick. So jumping into the books that I read this month, I actually finished my owls. I finished it last night. So I got through all 8 of my books and I'm really excited about that. Today, I'm not really going to dive into too much detail regarding the books. I'm just going to go through the books that I read and the rating, maybe give a little bit of why I enjoyed it or if I was disappointed, things like that. And then next week or the week after, I'll be doing a wrap-up video to kind of go through a little bit more in depth on why I chose the book for the prompt and career that I chose, and kind of just do a whole Owls wrap up. So keep an eye out for that. So the first book I read was Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. I gave this a 4 out of 5. And I really did enjoy this story. I borrowed it from Callison in October and I finally got to it. It was very unique. The culture was very rich. I really enjoyed how immersive the world was. There were parts where I was a little confused and parts where I'm just like, oh, okay, we can kind of move on with the story. But overall, I really enjoyed the magic and the uniqueness of the world. So next, I jumped into Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer, which we read for our Serpent and Badger book club earlier this year. And I was upset and mad at the ending of Strange the Dreamer, so I needed a couple of weeks and couple of months to kind of get ready to jump into Muse of Nightmares, and I'm happy I did. This is a very immersive story like the first one, and there are a lot of answers, and it kind of just builds on the world and makes it more intense. And I was very happy with the way the characters developed even more and the way they rolled with the punches of the answers to not only the reader's questions but to the characters' questions, because we were finding revelations at the same time characters were, and it was amazing. And I really enjoyed the way Laini Taylor wrote it. I really did enjoy this story, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. So the next book I jumped into was Stormrise by Jillian Boehme. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. It is very reminiscent of Mulan, which I really enjoyed, and there was more action and more dragons. And you guys know me, I'm a sucker for a story with a good dragon. And I really enjoyed the character development. I enjoyed the magic, and I felt like there was enough uniqueness where it wasn't just straight Mulan. But overall, I really did enjoy the story. It was a quick read for myself, and I'm happy I was able to pick this up. So the next 3 books, I kind of talked about this in my mid-April check-in video. I actually had Stevie help me pick out the order of these 3 books just because I was stuck after Stormrise. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to continue reading more YA fantasy, if I wanted to do the contemporary. I really wasn't sure. I really wasn't leaning one way or another, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can get Stevie to help me. So I laid out the 3 books. I used some of her treats, and then based off of the first treat that she ate in front of which book, that was the first book I read, and then so on and so forth. I just forgot to film it, so I'm gonna try to do the same thing in May and film it while I use Miss Stevie to help me with my TBR. So the first book that Stevie chose for me was The Wicked Deep by Shea, Ernshaw, and I gave this a 4 out of 5. It is a very fun story, but it's also very dark. So it is not one to take lightly. It does follow a witch hunt that is also overlapping present day. So it's really interesting. I did really enjoy this story. There was moments where I'm like, okay, this is pretty predictable. And then my world was shattered like 3 chapters later when I was like, oh wait, I did not see this coming. So it was actually really nice to have the predictability, but then be completely wrong. So I definitely recommend this. I might pick this back up in October for Halloween, but I also want to check out Shea Ernshaw's newest release, Winterwood, as well. So I'm looking forward to reading that one just because I really enjoyed her writing style. The next book I picked up was Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith. I gave this a 3 out of 5. This was definitely the most disappointing read of April. It was fun, it was lighthearted. I think I've grown out of contemporary. I didn't feel connected to the characters because I didn't feel what was important to them was important to me. I think that was the biggest thing that I realized I didn't like about this story was that they were connecting to these events, and I'm like, I don't really connect with that. So it was one of those where I'm like, okay, I'll finish it just to finish it, because I like the banter between the friends and the main characters, and I really liked the friendship that they were developing. It was a really nice, fun, lighthearted story. It's just, it wasn't for me. So that's why I felt like a little disappointed, because I was anticipating this release just because of the way it's set up. I thought it was going to be really interesting, but for the most part, it was a very meh read for me. And then I picked up All the Stars and Teeth by Adalyn Grace, and I loved this story. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. The only thing that I didn't like was the end. Well, I liked the ending. I just feel like there was a different part that it could have ended on, and then that the rest of the story could have been the opening to the sequel. But I do understand why we got the big conflict at the end. It's just, I felt like it could have waited and been the big opener for the second one. So I guess that's the only biggest issue that I had. Otherwise, I really loved the main character. I felt like she was a very strong female lead, and she knew what she wanted and she knew what she was going after. And then as she was going on this journey, she realized some things were off, and her kingdom really isn't the perfect picture that it was painted for her from her father, and she was having to make some difficult decisions, and it was just amazing. And I can't wait for the sequel next year. It's going to be one of those where I'm going to pick up right away. I might reread this one as well, just because I really enjoyed the immersive world and the way the characters bantered with each other. It was amazing, and it was well written. I wasn't confused on the magics, and I didn't feel like it was info dumpy either. I can't say enough about how much I really enjoyed this story, so I definitely recommend All the Stars and Teeth. The next one I picked up after All the Stars and Teeth was Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This is an adult fantasy, so it was definitely outside of the comfort zone that I've kind of put myself in. Overall, I gave this a 4 out of 5. I did enjoy it. The beginning was very confusing. I listened to the audiobook in the beginning just because like that's how I like to read. I like to go back and forth between listening to the story and reading the book, but I think I should have started reading the story because then it was easier to follow. It's a dual timeline in a way, so we're getting backstory while we're getting current story. Definitely a lot of blood and gore. Very first page does say, like, if you are faint of heart and you don't like the blood, you don't like the gore, you don't like all the guts and stuff, it's not going to be a story you will enjoy. That is right. There were some parts where I'm like, I really didn't need that. I didn't, but I understood why it was included. There were twists and turns. There really wasn't anything that I could predict, which I actually enjoyed. Sarah did say that that's one thing that she loved about the story when she first read it, that there is nothing you can predict, at least from our standpoint. So I'm really excited to actually discuss this with Sarah and Callison just because it was such a good story. Lastly, I read Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I gave this a 5 out of 5 just because it was short, it was sweet, and it gave us a inside look in the world of Harry Potter that you don't really see when you read the books. Like, there are a lot of the beasts that you will recognize, and I can't believe I waited this long to read it. It was so cute, and I really did enjoy being able to read about other creatures and other beasts that are within the magical world of Harry Potter. It was a nice way to end the month of April for me. So those were the books that I read for the month of April for my Owl's Readathon. Be sure to keep an eye out for my wrap-up where I'll go on a little more in depth on the story, kind of give you a little bit more about what happens, and then kind of going into why I chose that book for the prompts in the classes that I did. So going into the month of May, I have a couple of books in mind that I want to read. I'm looking at it. I know that it's not a lot of like YA fantasy because I need a break from it. I read a lot of it in the month of April, so I'm kind of shying away from the fantasy world and kind of sticking with, you know, adult romance and kind of foo-foo stories. So the first book that I've actually started, I started listening to the audiobook earlier this week, and that is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzi Lee. The sequel to this story, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, is actually our Serpent and Badger book for May, so I figured I should probably read the first one before reading the sequel, right? So I jumped into The Gentleman's Guide, and I really enjoy the banter right off the bat. I'm enjoying the characters, and I can't wait to see what the adventures lie ahead for this. The next two books I have picked out for the month of May are adult romance books. They're going to be floofy stories that I just need to kind of get through the stress that is the month before my wedding and all the changes that we are kind of experiencing right now. So the first out of the two is Undercover Bromance by Lyssa K. Adams. This is the second in the Bromance book club series, and it's following the sister to the love interest of the main character from Bromance book club and one of the other bros. So I'm actually really looking forward to it because I didn't like the sister in Bromance book club. I thought she was annoying and didn't really add anything to the story except for conflict. So I'm interested to see if I actually like this character in the second book. And I really enjoyed the character from Bromance book club. He brought a lot of the banter. He's a very arrogant man, and I'm looking forward to seeing how his personality develops and if there is any character development in this one as well. So I'm looking forward to jumping into this one. And then the other book that I have picked out is Fumbled by Alexa Martin. This is the follow-up novel from Intercepted. So we're following the same team from Intercepted, we're just following different characters. So we were introduced to the football player in the first one, but we weren't introduced to the female lead in the first one. So I'm interested to meet her, and I'm excited to see if there are more characters making an appearance from the first one in the second one. So this was going to definitely be one that I jump into in the month of May because I am looking forward to football season. Fingers crossed that it actually happens. And then of course I will be reading The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzi Lee that I mentioned earlier because that is, like I said, the Serpent and Badger book club book of May. So I will also be reading Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I don't have a copy yet. I actually like to listen to the audiobooks of Harry Potter, just especially after the fourth one with how long it is. It's nice to kind of switch up the stories that I'm reading. So we're spreading out Half-Blood Prince between May and June, so it's going to be one that I'll probably start right at the end of May into June because I think we're rewatching the movie in June. I'm not really sure. Everything's kind of on pause anyway, just because of the Wisconsin stay-at-home order. So yeah, we'll be getting together as soon as we can, pretty much, to kind of check in and get some joint videos back up and running because I know I'm dying to hang out with my friends because it sucks. The only other thing that I have for the month of May is a surprise from Callison and Sarah. So they got together during one of their work meetings and decided to hatch a plan to send me 2 books and then 2 items, and it's all under the same theme. I have the 2 books and 1 item in front of me. We were having some issues with delivery, just the way my apartment complex is set up. It's very complicated. So I will be calling the post office again to see if I should just pick up the item today, and then I'll be opening and filming that. I'm not one that likes surprises, so I'm dying to see what they got me, and hopefully I don't cry because I'm a crier when it comes to surprises and stuff like that. So look forward to that box opening later this month for myself. So that's everything for my April book corner. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what you guys were up to. How are you doing with the stay-at-home orders? I would love to hear what you're reading, what you're into right now, hobbies, and everything that is getting you through the social distancing and things like that. Be sure to head over to our channel and subscribe and click that little bell icon to be notified when we post new videos. We post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And head over to Goodreads. Our individual and book club links will be in the description below, as well as our Instagrams. Until next time, guys, bye.